So a lot of y'all probably don't know me, I don't think. My name is Meg Harvey. I'm a graduate student from the University of Arizona, and I'm lucky enough to get to work with all y'all as like sort of a teaching assistant slash intern. And Justin and Sydney let me introduce us today. So in Tunica, that would be Henny, Ima Meg Etisa. And Justin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Henny Justin Etisa, Tashi Hichute Etisa Sahu. All right, Sydney.
Henny Ima Sydney Etisa. I'm also one of your Tunica teachers.
Yeah, so if y'all have any questions about anything, I think Liz sent out our emails. You'll especially want to contact Justin and Sydney. They're kind of the lead teachers on this, but I can also answer questions. And yeah, I think, Justin, do you want to say a few words about the language class? And then I'll do the boring Zoom etiquette stuff.
Hey everyone. So today we're going to learn a little bit about our greeting. We have language recorded in our notebooks, and that's sort of the foundation of where we get our material to learn our language from. So I think I'll go ahead and start sharing the screen.
Do you mind if I jump in and do the Zoom etiquette stuff real quick? It'll be short.
Yes.
And then that means we don't interrupt the class with it. So a lot of y'all have probably already used Zoom before, but just in case, there were just a couple of guidelines for using Zoom that I wanted to recommend to y'all. You've probably already found the mute button, which is in I think the bottom left corner for most of you. If you click on it, makes it to where you can't hear you. Click on it again, and we can hear you talk. Just be sure to have that on when you're not talking, like be sure you're muted, because otherwise, as I'm sure y'all realize, there's a lot of background noise and it can cut people out. You can have your video on if you want. We'd really appreciate it, but don't worry about it if you're more comfortable with your video off. As always, be sure to treat everyone kindly as you would in any situation. Let's see. As far as the Zoom link goes, just ask us if you want to share it with someone. We need to be sure that Miss Liz and everybody knows who has the links. So just give us a heads up and ask us before you share the link. Trying to think if there's anything else that would be particularly important. I have a little sheet I can send out, but I think a lot of it's, you probably already know it. I think the last thing would be, if you're able to get here a little early, like 2 or 3 minutes, that would be awesome, but don't worry about it at all if you, I know life is really hectic right now, so if you don't have time for that, that's okay, but it helps us get started on time. And I think that's all I got about Zoom etiquette, so if you want to go ahead and start, Justin and Sydney, with the actual lesson. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so give me one. And I'm unmuted. Okay. So here we have a little bit of background of the sun man, even though I couldn't get his face all the way. And over here to the far left, we have the vocabulary. And we're going to start off with a demonstration of our greeting. Sydney, are you ready to give the greeting with me?
Yes. Okay. So I'm just gonna talk to Justin, and y'all listen and try to look for patterns. And well, I'm sure some of y'all will remember these. Okay. Hini, kanak waitisa.
Ima Justin Etisa, Henny, Kanak Hetisa, Sydney, or Kanak Hetisa.
Yeah. Ima Sydney Etisa. Etimalapun.
Home, Ima Lapun, Lapu Hemat,
Lapu Tikach. So what we just did there is I told him hello and I asked him his name, and then he told me his name and he told me hello and asked me my name as well. And the Etimalapu asked him, is you well, my friend? And he said yes and asked me the same thing, and I said yes as well. And I thanked him by saying Tikach.
So Tunica has a lot to do with the
So
vowel sounds. Oh, go ahead, Sydney. I didn't want to cut off.
I was gonna say, when we ask each other, Kanak Hetisa and Waitisa, if I'm asking him, I would say, if I'm asking Justin his name, I would ask Kanak Waitisa. Waitisa is when you ask a male, and then he would ask me or ask a female, it'd be Kanak Hetisa. You can see vocabulary 2 and 3, Waitisa and Hetisa. Okay, you could go ahead, Justin.
As we can see, or as may have observed, when I say Justin Etisa, that's me saying, yes, my name is Justin. And when I responded to Sydney, as you can see on number 4, I asked her Kanak Hetisa, Kanak being what, as we would call it, Yoluyana Ka, or a question word, and Hetisa being what we would call a possessive or to be named, sort of a pronoun for you, feminine, Sydney. So Tunica is mainly a vowel spoken language, so it's good to get an excuse me, it's good to get an emphasis of how the vowels are to be spoken. So let's go over that. I, or E, in Tunica would be pronounced ki, or P, C, li. Or E, as we say in English, would be pronounced as in hey or way. Or the epsilon E, is pronounced bet and health. We sort of have a smile when we pronounce the epsilon E, so that we can pronounce it the right way when the air comes through our mouths. Ah, or A, is pronounced as in father or top. Ah. Ah, I would say is more of a, I would like to say a rounded vowel. And of course, I could be wrong by saying that. However, that's how I would describe it as it comes out. Ah. as in taught, fought, caw or sloth. And we have O, whoops, O for boat or aw, as in boat or note or snow and goes. And U or oo, as in boot, who, chew, and flew.
So Justin, how about we ask everyone to like say it with us? We'll like go through this, we'll look at the letter, and then we'll have everyone say how it's pronounced. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
So feel free to come off mute for this. Do you want to walk through it with them again, Justin, and say, you'll say the letter sound, and then we'll all repeat the letter sound?
Sure, I can lead us towards the end of it, towards the end of the introduction.
So this first one is pronounced E, like Justin said. Can we all say the E sound? We can't, not even the other teachers will. Thank you. And the next one is A, like hey and way.
A.
A.
Now we have this one, which is a different letter than we've seen in like English before, right? We have the sound, like in bet, like Justin said. So if we can all do
A.
Then we have the like in father. We can all do tikach. And then we have the aw, like in taught and fought and caw. So like Justin said, your lips kind of round when you say this, right? When you say aw, if everyone can say aw. And then we have the O in boat, another one where our lips round.
O.
And then last we have the oo in boot, like Justin said.
Oo.
Tikash chotu. Yeah, so you're gonna see a lot of vowels that look like stuff we have in English but don't sound like it, right? If we see that letter I, we expect to say the sound I in English, but in Tunica we say E. So keep this in mind when you're reading, that we have these sort of sounds that we have to get used to. Justin and Sydney, would we like to do another round of just Kanak, Waitisa and Haitisa, and then ask everyone else to join us?
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Must have.
Yes. Then
Home.
you need Kanak Waitisa.
Henny. Ima Justin Etisa. Kanak Hetisa.
Ima Sydney Atisa. Ati Malapu.
Home. Imalapu. Let's see. Meg. Henny. Oh. See, I said your name. I said her name, but I made the mistake, and that happens often when we're learning the Tunica language, of course. So again, I'll start. Kanak Hetisa.
Oh, Ima Meg Etisa. Kanak Waitisa.
Ima Justin Etisa.
Okay, Justin Etisa. Excuse me, other teacher. Kanak Haitisa.
Ima Sydney Atisa. Kanak Haitisa.
Ima Meg Etisa. And now, do one of y'all want to ask one of the students?
Yes. Let's see who we have here.
So Sydney is going to ask one of y'all that question, Kanak Haitisa or Waitisa. And you're going to need to respond like we did, but don't stress about it if you mess up. This is the first time possibly that you're hearing this. And we just want to see everyone like get a chance to talk and participate.
Okay. Xavier, if you can hear me. Kanak Waitisa.
Not a teaser.
What was that?
Not a teaser.
Ima Justin Etisa. Because it sounds like he said Kanak Otisa.
You said Kanak Waitisa.
Yeah.
This time.
Clearly.
So you just asked just what is his name. So I use Xavier, your name, Kanak Waitisa. And you would respond, Ima Xavier Atisa.
Ima Xavier teaser.
Oh, good job.
Good. So we over here, it says write our responses of what you think the answers mean in English here in the boxes below. And as you can see here, I sort of responded to the question in the first box because it says Kanak Etisa. You would come here and you would write your name, Etisa. So let's see how many that we can solve. Actually, are the students able to actually interact with this, or are they just able to view it at the time?
Do they have the link for it?
I don't.
Well, since we don't have the links for it, let's just do it verbally again.
Yeah, and actually,
You can put it.
do we have time to ask everyone Kanak Waitisa or Kanak Hetisa and give them a chance to answer for themselves?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now, of course, I'm going to have to say your name in order to call on you, which I realize breaks the illusion a little bit. But Xylon, Kanak Waitisa.
Ima Xylon ATC.
Lapu Ko'o, which is awesome. Justin, would you like to ask someone?
Xylem. Let's try to ask Sydney what's her name, if you could remember.
I don't remember.
Or how about this? Say your name in Tunica.
Ima Xylon ATC.
Oh, Lapu.
Touch.
So let's go over here. And as you can see, we may have some familiar faces over here to the left. And we're asking them their names. Kanak Otisa. Xavier.
You want me to say who it is?
Yes, please. Kanak Otisa.
Justin Bieber.
And over here, Kanak Tetisa.
I don't know who that is.
That's Adele. Let's ask that again. Kanak Tetisa.
Odell.
All right.
If Adele spoke Tunica, would her most famous song be Henny instead of hello? Just some of the fun jokes you can
That's
make if you learn Tunica.
So I'm sure that we kind of noticed some patterns in the speech of the Tunica we were speaking. Uh, Students, did y'all notice anything different in the way that we asked the names? What about the difference between, let's talk about the difference between Justin Bieber and Adele.
Gender.
Gender, right. So, Xylan, what are some of the differences that you see between the spelling between asking the two people what are their names? What is the difference that you see?
The difference between Otisa and Tatisa. Because Otisa is for a boy and Tatisa is for a girl.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
love.
And how about when we were asking each other? Did we see a similar change there? Like right now we're talking about someone else. So we have Kanak Otisa and Kanak Tetisa. But when Justin asked Sydney what her name was, what did he say? Does anyone know? We can see one of the examples on the left here.
Kanako Otisa?
Hon. Awesome. Yeah. So when Sydney asked Justin what his name was, she said Kanak Wetisa. But what did Justin say when he was asking Sydney what her name is? You can type it in the chat if you don't want to say it. You can find your chat bar at the bottom of the screen underneath the speech bubble.
Kanako Otisa?
Hon. Awesome. Yeah, so we can see this difference in every single one of these questions, right? We have Kanak Hetisa for asking a woman what her name is, Kanak Wetisa for asking a guy what his name is, Kanak Tetisa for asking about a woman, and Kanak Otisa for asking about a man. In each of these, it looks really similar, right? We see that part of the word stays the same between it. But it also changes based off of the gender of the person you're talking to. And this is true through a lot of Tunica. And it's something you're gonna learn to pay attention to as you learn the language.
So Meg, I'm gonna stop screen sharing here.
And we'll share this with y'all so you have a list of vocabulary you can get to. So what I would like everyone to do real quick is we'll go through, and I was wondering if everyone could introduce themselves just by saying, my name is name in Tunica. Does that sound okay? Justin, Sydney, and I can demonstrate first. So Ima Meg Etisa.
Ima Justin.
Ima Sydney
Mm-hmm.
Ima Sydney Etisa.
Ima Justin Etiso.
And Xavier's next to my screen, if you want to go ahead.
Ima Xavier Otisa.
And then Xylon.
Ima Xylon Otisa.
On Lapu. And I'm sorry, I actually don't know how to say your name. Contra Raskar?
I'm using my mom's computer, so.
Okay. And do you mind introducing yourself in Tunica?
Ima Lexi Etisa.
Lacey or Lexi?
Lexi.
Hon Tikach.
Ima Dewan Atisa.
Hon Tikach Dewan.
How about you, Angel? What you like to introduce yourself in Tunica?
Sorry, I was late getting on. Ima, Angel, et Tisa.
Thank you.
All right, tikachotu. So one thing we wanted to take a minute to do is obviously this is basically the first day of class. So we had a lot of logistics to work through and stuff like that. But I was wondering if we could ask all of you sort of to give us an idea of what you already know, but also something that you'd like to know. Maybe you really want to be able to talk about your dog in Tunica. Maybe you want to be able to ask your family about things in Tunica. If there's something in particular you'd like to know how to do, we'd like to know that, because then we can structure our lessons a little better to get us there to that specifically. You can either type it in the chat or say it out loud. But I'd love to hear from everybody something that they would like to learn.
How do you say, like, how are you doing in Tunica?
That's an awesome question. And Sydney and Justin actually modeled that for us. So how about we have Sydney and Justin go through that again, and we'll see if you can figure out what it is they're saying.
Okay. Okay. Justin, are you ready?
Yes. Sydney. Kanak. Kanak. Yeah, we. Even though that's not focused on what we're asking at the moment, I'm going to get to something with that. Kanak. Ya. E.
Yeah, E.
Let's go back.
Can you
Sydney. Hemalapun.
home? Home. Ma.
Hon. Imalapun.
Okay. Kanakwetisa.
Justin Etisa. Kanak Hetisa.
Ima Sydney Etisa. Etimalapun.
Hon. Imalapun. Hemalapun.
Home tikach. Ima lapu.
All right, so the last part of that was kind of walking through what Xylon asked about. So we had the question of how do you ask how you're doing? And let's see. Was anyone, I'm gonna type out what they said so you guys have something visual to look at and like attach it to. But let's see. The first thing Justin said to her was Eti hemalapu. Let's see. Sorry, I need a fancy font in order to be able to type this. And actually, Justin, do you mind walking through just that brief exchange, or Sydney, with me real quick? Just ask me how I'm doing, and I'll ask y'all how you're doing. Either one of you.
Etimalapun.
Etima lapun for me? All right.
Oh. My bad.
Tikach.
My bad. Justin, go ahead.
Meg. Eti Hemalapun.
Lapu, tikach. Etima lapu?
Lapusha.
Lapusha.
Labusha.
All right. So let's see. The first thing Justin said was eti hemalapun, and I have written that in the chat, which hopefully y'all can see. I responded with lapu kach. So just looking at this part, does anyone recognize any of the words we see in eti hemalapun or in lapu tikach? You've heard us say a couple of these already as we went through the class.
Would y'all like to type your answers in the chat for us, please? What do we recognize in the dialogue in the chat? Okay, we see Juan Jones has, or Dewan Jones has, he recognizes Lapun.
Awesome, Dewan. What do you think lapun means? So lapu, just lapu means good, right? Justin asked me, eti hema lapun, and I said lapu tikach. I said good, and what is tikach? You can type it in the chat as well. I saw that a couple of y'all recognize that one. Yeah, so I said good, thank you. But lapu looks a little different in, when Justin was asking me that question than it looks when I was responding, doesn't it? What is the difference between the lapu we saw in the question, eti hema lapun, and the lapu we saw in the answer, lapu tikach? What looks different about those two words? And you can again type it in the chat. You don't have to have an explanation for why it looks different. Just notice, is there a difference in the letters in one word? Awesome, Xylon. So when you're asking a question in Tunica that has a yes or no answer, you have an in on it, on the end. But let's compare that to something real quick. What does the question, I'm gonna type a question in the chat and I'll read it out too. I'd like y'all to tell me what it means. So we have this question, kanak hetisa. What is that? You'll remember earlier, Justin asked Sydney that. Yes, that's very close. It's, what is your name? Yeah. So the reason we don't have an in, because we don't see an in on the end of hetisa, right? The reason we don't have the in there is because it's not a yes-no question. You can answer that with anything. If someone said to me, Meg, what is your name? And I said yes or no, that's not really helpful. No one wanted that answer. But if I ask, are you doing well? And then I can totally answer yes or no. So that's when you get that in there is when you have a yes or no question. And again, we'll send this to y'all on that cool link that Justin has set up for us. So that brings us to another question. What is Kanak doing in that? If Hetisa is your name, what do we think Kanak is? Lapuduan and Angel. Excellent. Yeah, it's just what? What is your name is Kanak Hetisa if you're talking to one girl, and Kanak Waitisa if you're talking to one guy. So what y'all have done here is you listened to what we talked about, and then you broke it down into its pieces. You can use the knowledge of like what Kanak means to build other sentences down the line. But now that we've spent a minute breaking down Etihema lapun with laputikach, I want to go back to our initial question of how do you ask how you're doing? And I want to turn to Justin and say, Justin, eti malapun.
Ima lapu. Iti hema lapun.
Lapu. Tikach.
Yakshiba.
So what I asked Justin there, I'll put in the chat so y'all can see the words written out. But I asked Justin, eti ma lapun. And Justin asked me, eti, oh, I need that letter again. Do we see something familiar in this? Maybe a difference we noticed in our Kanak questions from before? Yeah, we have that sound. Oops. We have that sound again, right? But if in both cases we're asking each other, how are you? Or are you well? Like more specifically, why do they look different when I asked it versus when Justin asked it? Awesome, Angel. And what determines whether we need to say ma or hema? Awesome, Duan. Yeah, or lapu. Yeah, it's exactly. It's whether you're talking to a male or a female person. Let's see. So I think what we're going to do, if this sounds good to Justin and Sydney, is as we wind down the class, we could go through and just ask each other, are you well? And for now, let's stick with feeling well, and we'll learn how to say we're only so-so later, although Justin showed it for us. So I am gonna ask Justin how Justin's doing, and then he can ask Sydney how she's doing, and then we'll each ask another person. And don't worry about it if you don't remember on the spot, we'll help you. This is just getting practice. So Justin, etima lapu.
Ima lapu. Sydney. Eti hema lapun.
I can pretend to be Sydney for a second and then ask someone else. Lapu tikash. Xavier. Etima lapun.
Lapu tikach.
Hon, can you ask someone else in the class how they're doing?
Zyla atima lapu.
Lapu tikach. Eti malapu Angela.
Lapu tikat. With Jones etima lapun.
Laputikach. Is there anybody else in the class?
You can ask one of us.
Oh, Meg, Etima. How do you say it?
Eti hema lapun.
Okay, Etihema lapun.
Lapu tikach. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming and trying this out with us. You know, as Justin said, all of our knowledge of the language comes from, you know, the efforts of people like Sesostri, Yuchigan, and other ancestors who've taken their time to share the language and record it. And we're really grateful that y'all are taking the time out of your day to come and learn Born with us. Yeah. And shall we say goodbye in Tunica? I think we lost Sydney. So Hita, take care, y'all.
Apo witiki.